The United States was largely immune to direct attack by the Axis powers. The Germans had run a successful U-boat campaign code-named Operation Drumbeat off the U.S. East Coast and Gulf of Mexico in 1942, but had been unable to attack the mainland. In fact, the only time Germany had assaulted U.S. soil was at the tail end of World War I, when a German submarine had shelled the small town of Orléans in Massachusetts. Hitler was desperate to see New York in flames, to inflict material damage on America's premier city, as he was doing to London. But how the Luftwaffe possessed no aircraft with the range to reach New York and return. One possibility was to refuel bombers part of the way across the Atlantic, at the Portuguese Azores, and Portuguese dictator General Salazar had allowed German U-boats to refuel there. German aircraft manufacturers, Heinkel Junkers and Messerschmitt, all designed aircraft for the mission to the US, all were very large bombers. The distances involved were huge, a round trip of well over 7,000 miles. However, the designs proceeded on the assumption of using the Azores as a refueling point, reducing the round trip to about 6,400 miles from France. The winning design for the America bomber was the Junkers Ju-390. Two prototypes of this enormous long-range aircraft were built. The first, codenamed V-1, made its maiden flight on the 20th of October, 1943. 26 aircraft were ordered but never built. The second prototype, V-2, was slightly longer. V-1 was personally shown to Hitler on the 26th of November, 1943. It made many test flights until November 1944, when it was stripped of parts in April 1945. It was apparently destroyed to prevent capture by the U.S. Army. V-2 began test flights in September 1944. It was equipped with air-to-surface radar and 5 20mm cannon. The Ju-390 had 6 BMW engines with a crew of 10. His wingspan was over 165 feet, as we will see shortly. The Ju-390 also had the fuel capacity and endurance to reach New York and return. A blow to the plan was struck in 1943 by the Portuguese dictator Salazar. He decided to allow the Allies to refuel aircraft, and indeed, base them in the Azores, but with an increased fuel load and a much reduced bomb load. The Junkers Ju-390 still had the legs to make a round trip to New York from the French Atlantic coast. Just let's examine some of the aircraft's stats to see whether it is indeed feasible. About 53,000 pounds of fuel were required to provide takeoff power and then cruise at 12,000 feet for the 32 hours a round-trip mission would take to New York. This was sufficient to permit a return flight with a 10,000-kilogram payload. It has been calculated that cruising at 232 knots, a Junkers 390 could theoretically fly 7,400 nautical miles, so the intriguing question remains: did the Luftwaffe attempt to fly to New York and back? The answer is not clear and highly disputed. The first such claim emerged in November 1955 in a story that a pair of Junkers 390s had made an extraordinary transatlantic flight to New York, including lingering over the city for 1 hour. Another intelligence report stated that a Ju-390 had been delivered to a Luftwaffe unit near Bordeaux in January 1944 and had made a 32-hour round-trip flight to within 12 miles north of New York City. Other intelligence reports, based on POW interrogations, made the same claims, including the claim that the crew of one aircraft had photographed Long Island. These claims were made by experienced Luftwaffe pilots, though they provided no evidence, and they provided no photographs that they had allegedly taken. Albert Speer, Hitler's architect and armaments minister, claimed that a Junkers 390 made a top-secret trip to Japan before the end of the war, which was entirely possible. we will probably never know the truth regarding the America bomber. The fall of France pushed the Germans away from the Atlantic coast, meaning any proposed America bomber missions to New York was scrubbed. If you've enjoyed this video, please do subscribe.